And, you know, he became a fan literally overnight. So we had two DJs on our side. We had Kit Jensen in Radio Luxembourg, and we had John Peel in the BBC. And that was, you know, just an incredible break to have two DJs playing our songs from the first Decca album every night that we're on the radio, which is incredible, amazing. And although the first album didn't really sell many copies, physical copies, the actual publicity we got from John Peel and from Kit Jensen, and it kind of spread around to the rest of the DJs. That was in the BBC and other radio stations. There wasn't many radio stations at that time. There was only a few. But any DJs that was around, they picked up on us, you know, soon. And that gave us a massive boost, obviously, you know. And then we had a big break because our manager persuaded us to record Whiskey in the Jar. I mean, Phil had this idea of, you know, doing your own arrangement of this song. And I just thought it was a bit of a strange idea, because don't forget, Eric and Phil used to, before we left Dublin, used to play the folk clubs, without me obviously. Yeah. Although I did stand in a few times on bongos. But they were doing the folk circuit just to make a few bob, you know, because we weren't making much money at that particular time, you know. And it was obviously very enjoyable for them to do it as well. So that's what they were doing. And Whiskey in the Jar was one of those songs that was a part of their repertoire, their folk repertoire, you know. And Phil came up with the idea of, why don't we just rock it up a bit, slow it down and rock it up. And that's exactly what we did. He came up with a lovely arrangement. You know, Eric Bell came up with a fantastic, unreal guitar part, you know. An amazing guitar intro, and the solo as well was amazing song. So all these little parts we rearranged, you know, in the studio, and it was originally supposed to be the B-side of a song that Phil wrote called Black Boys in the Corner, and we presented Decca Records with these two sides, and Dick Rowe, the head of Decca, and infamously turned down the Beatles, heard these tunes and decided, okay, well, Black Boys in the Corner should be the B-side, not the A-side, and Whiskey in the Jar should be the A-side. So when that information got back to us, Phil wasn't not pleased, you know, so he was a bit upset about this, and obviously, you know, I could understand why. But there was no changing Dick Rowe's mind, even though Phil tried. He said, no, he said, Whiskey in the Jar is going to be the A-side. And lucky enough, he put his foot down and said, there's absolutely no way he's going to be on the B-side, so that's what happened. And I was absolutely delighted he made that decision, because it was the right decision after all.
Did that one make it to top?
Oh, it did. He got to number 6 in the UK charts and number 1 in Ireland.
There was a bit of a shock to the audience there to hear something like that.
It was, and the actual song was regarded back then as a sleeper. They called them sleepers because it took so long to actually get into the charts.
Right.
It was on the fringes of the top 40 for weeks before it actually broke into the top 40. And once it breaks into the top 40, the DJs all over the UK and Ireland, you know, once that happens, they have to play it because it's in the top 40. And gradually got into the 30s, 20s, into the top 10, and that's when we appeared on Top of the Pops, and that's when the whole situation took off, you know, after that.
Okay. So what happened then? Like, as I said, you just said that it took off. I mean, what was the biggest change?
Well, the biggest change was the gigs improved overnight. Instead of playing smallish clubs and, you know, pub gigs, we were playing proper venues, clubs, universities, theatres, although smallish theatres. At least we were into that circuit. We broke into it. So instead of being like, you know, a B-rated band, we became an A-rated band because of that single, Whiskey in the Jar.
And obviously with that then comes a lot of pressure. as well?
Yeah, no, the pressure came slightly later, but there was a bit of pressure, especially with Eric. Eric became a little bit disillusioned because of the fact that, we were going to places like Germany, France, Spain, Holland, all over Europe, and we, turn up the studio and you want us to mime. So we were miming to Whistle in the Jar rather than playing live. And Eric became a little bit disillusioned, travelling so far to mime a song, But I think the pressure, apart from that, I think the pressure was showing on Eric more than me and Phil. I think reason being, I think he was just going through this period in his life where, he's breaking up with his girlfriends and he was having problems, other problems as well. And he became disillusioned. And the night he left the band was in Queen's University in Belfast. It was a New Year's Eve night, and because it was that period, he went out with his friends and relations in Belfast and just got hammered before the gig, on alcohol. Came down to the sound check and could barely play. So that was concerning, to say the least.
Yeah.
So we told him to get a load of coffee and whatever and try to sober up. And that's what he tried to do. But because it was in Belfast, it was the Queen's University, where he knew a lot of people, and it was also New Year's Eve. And he just started drinking again after a couple of cups of coffee. Obviously, didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So we went on stage, and he was still pretty drunk. He played 4 numbers. He decided to leave the stage left, took his guitar off and threw it on the floor, and walked off and left us to play as a 2-piece. Lucky enough, everybody else in the audience was equally as drunk as him. So, so
that was a strange one.
They thought it was part of the act. They didn't really notice too much that he left the stage.
Okay.
But he didn't return, so we had to continue the gig without him, And lucky enough, the audience didn't really mind,
So how did you cope then after that?
Well, we had to get Gary Moore to finish that tour. Mm-hmm. We phoned our management up next day and asked them to phone Gary and see was he available. Lucky enough, Gary actually dropped everything. He was kind enough to drop everything and get on the plane and arrived in Ireland a couple of hours later. Mm-hmm. But he had commitments. He just stopped everything because he was a very good friend of ours. Don't forget as well. He dropped everything and came over to Ireland and finished the tour without any rehearsals.
And is that then what led to the collaborations then? We get Parisian Walkways?
Oh yeah, that came later, a couple of
years
years later. Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
But no, initially Gary, after that tour, he left, went back to his own band because he had his own band. And we were trying to contemplate who do we get in to replace Eric Bell. So we had, it was a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months even, without playing. And then suddenly Phil came up and said, "Come on, let's just ask Gary. Let's just ask him would he join, So that's what we did. And he said, "Give me a couple of days to think about it." And he did. He slept on it and got back to us and said, "Yeah, I'll join." So he came into the band. As a 3-piece. We recorded Little Darling with him. We recorded 2 songs. One was Little Darling, that became a single with Gary. It wasn't a hit by any means, but it was a great tune, Unfortunately, it wasn't a hit. And then he decided after, being in the band for about 9 months, to go off and do his own thing again.
Okay.
So we had to find somebody permanent then. And that's when we went into auditions in the country club in West Hampstead in London. Mm-hmm. And the auditions went on for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And the first person who walked in was Robbo. And I recognised Robbo instantly because I knew Robbo from Glasgow, from maybe a year previous to that when he came to a gig in Glasgow and then ended up in my hotel room with his guitar. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at him playing the first Thin Lizzy album, track by track. And I said to him, "It's amazing. How did you manage to?" He says, "I'm a big fan of the band. I'm a massive fan of Eric Bell's." So he turned up at the audition. He found out from Big Charlie, who was our road manager, Charlie McLennan from Glasgow. And Charlie passed the word on to him that we were having auditions. He came down. He actually came to London to audition for 2 bands. One was Thin Lizzy as a guitar player,
Yeah.
and another band, I can't remember the name of the band, as a drummer. So one band is a guitarist, and the other band he was auditioning as a drummer. I don't know whether he got the gig. I can't remember if he did or not. But he certainly got the gig as a guitar player with Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
And you know, and the rest is really history, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, as I said, you're internationally
Yeah,
loved and
That's right.
respected, and a hell of a legacy.
yeah, massive. And also don't forget that all these bands, like we were talking about earlier, Iron Maiden, Metallica, all said in interviews over the years that we were massively influential on them.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, all those bands that came out after us seem to be influenced by Thin Lizzy, which is just an incredible legacy.
Yeah.
You know?
When he wrote My Sarah, I mean, it's a beautiful tribute